What if everything you've been taught about the very beginning is not the whole story? What if the most foundational narrative of our civilization, the bedrock upon which millennia of faith, law, and identity have been built, contains a silent fracture? A hairline crack in the foundation so small it is almost invisible, yet one that, when followed, leads to a vast and hidden chamber beneath the familiar edifice. We are heirs to a story of a garden, of a first man and a first woman, of a temptation and a fall. It is a story of their children, Cain and Abel, of jealousy, of violence in a field, of the first blood crying out from the ground. It is a story we believe we know. We have painted it, sculpted it, preached it, simplified it for children. We have made it a parable of morality, of sibling rivalry, of divine justice. But what if, in our desire to find a clear moral, we have smoothed over the disturbing inconsistencies? What if we have turned a complex, ancient, and perhaps deliberately enigmatic historical record into a simple fable? What if the original text was not a children's story, but a cryptic summary of a real, lost history? A history so strange, so challenging, that later generations could only preserve it by dressing it in the clothes of myth. Tonight, we begin an excavation, not with shovels and brushes, but with words and logic. We will dust off the first books of the Bible, not as articles of faith, but as artifacts of testimony. We will read them with the cold eye of a detective examining a crime scene, or an archivist piecing together a fragmented scroll. We will pay attention not only to what is said, but to what is left unsaid, to the gaps, to the silences, to the single offhand remark that doesn't fit the official narrative. Our investigation starts with the first murder, but it does not end there. It starts with a single, almost casual line of text, a line that upon examination proves to be the loose thread. Pull it, and the entire tapestry of humanity's traditional origin begins to unravel, revealing a pattern far more intricate, far more ancient, and far more terrifying than we ever imagined. The line is from Genesis, chapter 4, verse 17. Cain made love to his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. His wife. 2 words, a simple, possessive phrase. His wife. In the flow of the narrative, it is presented not as a shocking revelation, not as a problem to be solved, but as a mundane fact, a given. As if the original audience listening to this tale thousands of years ago nodded in understanding, as if they already knew who she was. But we do not know. We have forgotten. Or perhaps we were never told. This is our point of departure. This is the first case file in a series of biblical mysteries. This is the conspiracy of Cain. Not a conspiracy of shadowy men in a room, but a conspiracy of time, of translation, of simplification. The conspiracy to make a mysterious, populated, and complex ancient world seem simple, empty, and solely about one family. Who was Cain's wife? The question is the key. Turn it, and the lock springs open. To find the answer, we must first clearly establish the crime scene, the narrative as it is traditionally presented. We must lay out the timeline with forensic precision, so we can see precisely where the clue of the wife does not fit. The book of Genesis provides the sequence. In the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth. He forms Adam, the first man, from the dust of the ground and breathes into him the breath of life. He places him in a specially prepared garden in Eden, a place of perfection and proximity. From Adam's side, he forms Eve, the first woman. They are together, naked and unashamed. They transgress. They eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the one tree forbidden to them. Their eyes are opened. They see their nakedness. They feel shame and fear for the first time. They are expelled from the garden. The gates close behind them, guarded by cherubim with a flaming sword. Paradise is lost. Outside the walls of Eden, in the harsh and real world, life begins. Adam and Eve have children. The firstborn is Cain. The text tells us he becomes a worker of the soil, a tiller of the ground. Then comes his brother, Abel, who becomes a keeper of flocks. Time passes. The brothers make offerings to God. Cain brings some of the fruits of the soil. Abel brings fat portions from the firstborn of his flock. For reasons the text does not fully explain, God looks with favor on Abel and his offering, but not on Cain and his. Cain is furious. His face is downcast. God speaks to him, warning him that sin is crouching at his door, desiring to have him, but he must master it.
Cain does not master it. He lures his brother Abel out into a field, and there, in that lonely place, he attacks him and kills him. The first violence, the first life taken by human hands. Abel's blood soaks into the earth, and the ground, which Cain was meant to work, is now poisoned by his brother's life. God calls to Cain. "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain lies. "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" God reveals he knows the truth. He hears the voice of Abel's blood crying out from the ground. A curse is pronounced. The very ground Cain works will now resist him. No longer will it yield its crops for him. He is to become a restless wanderer, a fugitive on the earth. Cain, in despair, cries out that his punishment is more than he can bear. He says to God, "Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." This statement is critical. Note his fear. Whoever finds me will kill me. Who is this whoever? At this point in the traditional narrative, the only other human beings alive are his parents, Adam and Eve. Are we to believe Cain is afraid his aged, grieving mother and father will hunt him down and murder him? The fear seems disproportionate, almost paranoid, unless, of course, Cain knows of other people, other potential threats. God responds not by dismissing Cain's fear as absurd, but by addressing it seriously. He places a mark on Cain, a mark not of shame, but of protection. A divine warning. If anyone kills Cain, he will suffer vengeance 7 times over. The mark is a deterrent against this mysterious whoever. Then, verse 16, "So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden."
The land of Nod, the land of wandering. It is given a name. This is not described as a trackless waste, a barren desert of nothingness. It is a place with an identity, east of Eden. And then the very next verse, the anomaly. Verse 17, "Cain made love to his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch." Full stop. His wife. She enters the narrative with no introduction, no explanation, no fanfare. She simply is. Let us freeze time here. Let us take a snapshot of the biblical world at this exact moment, according to the literal, straightforward reading. Who exists? God, Adam, Eve. Cain, now in the land of Nod, the deceased Abel. That is the entire dramatis personae. There is no mention of any other created being, human or otherwise, who could fulfill the role of wife. The narrative continues. Cain, with his wife, has a son named Enoch. Then the text says, Cain was then building a city, and he named it after his son Enoch. A city. The Hebrew word is Ir. It denotes a permanent, settled, and often fortified place. A significant human settlement. A lone man, a fugitive wanderer, does not build a city. A city requires a population, labor, social organization, resources, and time. It is the project of a community, or of a ruler commanding a community. After this, the narrative leaves Cain and returns to Adam and Eve. Genesis 4:25 states, "Adam made love to his wife again, and she gave birth to a son and named him Seth, saying, 'God has granted me another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him.'" Did you catch the profound chronological problem? Seth, the replacement son, the one from whose line the Bible's redemptive history will flow, is born after Cain has settled in Nod, found a wife, fathered a child, and begun building a city. If we cling to the traditional empty world model, this creates an almost insurmountable dilemma for Cain's wife's identity. The only possible candidate within the model is a sister from Adam and Eve. But for her to be available for Cain to marry and nod, she would have to have been born after Cain's exile but before Seth's birth. The text mentions no such daughter. It goes from Cain's exile directly to his marriage. The theological implications of this sister-wife solution are staggering. It means that in order to propagate the human race, God's perfect law, which would later explicitly forbid such unions, had to be broken at the very origin. It means the entire human race, save the first couple, is the product of direct sibling incest. For millennia, theologians have accepted this as a grim biological necessity, a temporary suspension of the moral law due to the constraints of a single family. But does it feel right? Does it feel like a coherent part of a divinely inspired narrative? Or does it feel like a desperate patch, a band-aid applied to a gaping wound in the storyline? Does it feel like the kind of foundational truth a sacred text would want to establish? Or does it feel like an obvious problem that later interpreters had to solve because the original, deeper truth had been lost or suppressed? Let us, for a moment, entertain a radical thought. What if the problem is not with the identity of the wife, but with our initial, unexamined assumption? What if the stage upon which this drama is set is not the stage we have always been told? What if the world into which Cain was exiled was not empty? This question leads us down a path less traveled, a path lined with scholarly debate, ancient Jewish commentary, and textual clues often overlooked. It is the path of the pre-Adamite hypothesis. To understand it, we must reread the opening chapters of Genesis not as a single, continuous narrative, but as potentially containing layers of information. Genesis chapter 1 presents a grand, cosmic-scale creation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It details 6 days of forming and filling. On the sixth day, Genesis 1:26-27 states, "Then God said, 'Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness.' So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." Notice the plural. Mankind, them, male and female. This is a categorical, general creation of humanity. Immediately, in verse 28, God blesses them and says to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it." The command is given, "Fill the earth." This is not a suggestion for the distant future. It is an imperative attached to their creation. Genesis chapter 2 then begins with a shift. It appears to circle back, providing a more detailed, intimate account. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created, when the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. It describes a time before shrubs and plants had sprung up, for God had not sent rain. A mist was watering the earth. Then, verse 7, "Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." The language is specific, personal. He formed the man, Ha-Adam. He planted a garden eastward in Eden and put the man there. He caused trees to grow. He formed the animals and brought them to the man to name. Then, from the man's side, he formed a woman. What if these are not two conflicting accounts of the same event? What if they are two accounts of different events? A general creation of human life across the ancient world, the mankind of Genesis 1, given the mandate to fill the earth, followed by a special, intimate covenant creation of a specific man and woman in a specific sanctified location. Not the first humans, but the first humans of a new kind. A priestly lineage, a lineage with a direct walking relationship with the divine, a lineage set apart for a specific purpose within a world that was already bustling with life. This idea is not modern heresy. It was debated in the Jewish scholarly world for centuries. It finds echoes in the Talmud and the writings of early rabbis. It was seriously discussed by Christian scholars in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. It is a thread of interpretation that has always existed at the margins of orthodoxy, precisely because it solves so many textual problems with such elegant simplicity. If we adopt this lens, the entire landscape of early Genesis changes dramatically. The Garden of Eden is no longer the birthplace of all humanity. It is a sanctuary, a holy precinct established within a pre-existing world. Adam is not the progenitor of every human soul, but the federal head of a new covenant, a new relationship between God and a chosen line of humanity. He is the first Adam, not the first man. Now, re-enter Cain. Cain is born into this special, set-apart lineage. He is of the garden-born stock. When he commits murder and is exiled, he is not sent into a void. He is cast out from the presence of the Lord and from the sanctified community. He is sent back into the wider world, the world that had been filling the earth for untold generations since the Genesis 1 creation. His fear makes perfect, chilling sense. Whoever finds me will kill me. He is not afraid of his parents. He is afraid of the tribes, the clans, the peoples of the ancient world. To them, he is a strange, marked outsider, possibly dangerous, possibly a prize. The mark God places on him is a supernatural deterrent, a protective sigil for a man entering a dangerous foreign land. He travels east. He comes to the land of Nod, not a mysterious nowhere, but a known district, a territory inhabited by these pre-Adamic peoples. He integrates. He uses the knowledge and innate abilities of his advanced lineage to secure a position. And he marries a woman from among them. The mystery of Cain's wife vanishes. It was only a mystery because we started with the wrong map. We thought the world was empty. It was not. This framework illuminates Cain's next actions with brilliant clarity. Cain was then building a city. Of course he was. A man of his talents, coming from a lineage that named the animals and walked with God, would not live as a simple tribesman. He would become a leader, an innovator, a king. He would mobilize the local population. He would direct them in the construction of the first fortified urban center. And he would name it after his firstborn son, Enoch, establishing his own dynasty, separate from the Adamic covenant. This is the founding of the first human civilization outside of God's direct theocracy, the Cainite civilization. The Bible itself records the rapid, dark evolution of this line. Cain's descendants are listed. His great-great-great-grandson is Lamech. Lamech represents the full flowering of Cainite culture. He is the first polygamist, taking 2 wives. He is a poet of violence, singing to his wives. Ada and Zillah, listen to me. Wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. Here is the fruit of the kingdom built apart from God. Exaggerated vengeance, pride, and violence, the breakdown of the primal marital union. Significantly, the Bible credits Cain's descendants with the foundations of material civilization. Jabal with nomadic herding, Jubal with music and instruments, and Tubal-Cain with the forging of all kinds of bronze and iron tools. This is not an accident. It is a theological statement. The line that turned away from God masters the arts and sciences of the material world. They build, they create, they innovate. Here is the fruit of the kingdom built apart from God. Exaggerated vengeance, pride in violence, the breakdown of the primal marital union. Significantly, the Bible credits Cain's descendants with the foundations of material civilization. Jabal with nomadic herding, Jubal with music and instruments, and Tubal-Cain with the forging of all kinds of bronze and iron tools. This is not an accident. It is a theological statement. The line that turned away from God masters the arts and sciences of the material world. They build, they create, they innovate. Meanwhile, the line of Seth, born later to Adam and Eve, is described in stark contrast. Genesis 4:26 simply says, Seth also had a son, and he named him Enosh. At that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord. 2 lines, diverging, One, the line of Cain and the pre-Adamite world, oriented toward earthly achievement, technology, and power. The other, the line of Seth, oriented toward worship and the pursuit of God. For a time, they exist separately, but the structure of the narrative and the logic of the world we have uncovered suggests a terrifying inevitability. Two humanities on the same planet, with different origins and different destinies, could not remain isolated forever. The wall between the garden and the world, breached by Cain, would not hold. And indeed, the Bible tells us it did not hold. Genesis chapter 6 opens with a cryptic and haunting passage that has spawned endless speculation. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Who are these sons of God? Who are these daughters of humans? Throughout the ancient Near East, the phrase sons of God, Bene Elohim, referred to divine beings, members of the heavenly council. In the book of Job, the sons of God present themselves before the Lord. Many early Jewish and Christian interpreters, reading this within the empty world model, believed these were angelic beings who descended and took human women, producing the monstrous Nephilim, the giants, or fallen ones mentioned in the next verse. But within the framework we are exploring, the pre-Adamite, two humanities model, another compelling interpretation emerges, one held by many early church fathers. In this view, the sons of God are the descendants of Seth, the godly line, the line that began to call on the name of the Lord. They are the sons of the covenant. The daughters of humans, or daughters of men, are the daughters of the other line, the line of Cain and the pre-Adamite peoples. They are the daughters of the worldly, technologically advanced but spiritually adrift civilization. The Sethites saw the Cainite women, beautiful, sophisticated, culturally advanced, and they were captivated. They broke the sacred boundary. They married any of them they chose. This was not a random mixing. It was the deliberate fusion of the two divergent streams of humanity, the spiritual and the material, the covenantal and the worldly. The result, according to Genesis 6:4, was the Nephilim. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The word Nephilim is often translated as giants, and later biblical passages describe them as such. But the root of the word implies fallen ones, or those who cause others to fall. They were hybrid beings, heroes of old, men of renown. But their renown was not godly. They were the product of a forbidden union, a corruption of the intended separation. This union, this systemic corruption of the genetic and spiritual integrity of the Adamic line, is presented as the direct cause of the Great Flood. Genesis 6:5-6 states, "The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled." The wickedness was not simple violence. It was the total corruption resulting from the fusion of the lines. The divine verdict that follows is not just on violence, but on all flesh that had corrupted its way upon the earth. The flood is a reset, a surgical removal of a corrupted experiment. Only Noah, who was blameless among the people of his time, and who walked faithfully with God, is preserved. He is a pure descendant of the Sethite line, uncorrupted by the forbidden marriages. Do you see the vast, sweeping narrative that emerges when we solve the simple mystery of Cain's wife? It is not a story of four people in an empty world. It is an epic of two humanities. One, ancient and spread across the earth. The other, newer, set apart for a holy purpose. The tragedy begins when a member of the holy line commits the ultimate crime and is exiled back into the old world. He thrives there, building a kingdom of human achievement devoid of God. His line and the old world become one civilization, brilliant, artistic, technological, and proud. Generations later, the Holy Line, meant to remain separate as a priesthood for the world, looks upon this other civilization with desire. They intermarry, the boundaries dissolve. The result is a hybrid race of immense power and profound corruption. The fusion becomes so complete, so toxic, that God must wash the slate clean and start again with the one man who preserved the purity of the original covenant line. Cain's wife is the linchpin. She is the first bridge. Her identity as a woman of the ancient world transforms Genesis from a simple family drama into a cosmic story of failed separation, of spiritual adultery, and of a world so polluted it required annihilation. This interpretation is supported by whispers from the margins of history. The first-century Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, in his Antiquities of the Jews, writes of Cain. He traveled over many countries. He then settled there. He married many wives. He also introduced weights and measures, thereby corrupting the ancient simplicity of human life. Many wives, not a sister. Josephus clearly accessed traditions that saw Cain as a corrupter of an existing, simpler world. The ancient Book of Jubilees, trying to solve the wife problem within a closed system, names her as Cain's sister, Awan. But this feels like a later fix, an attempt to smooth over the crack. The even more ancient Book of Enoch, while focused on the angelic interpretation of the sons of God, paints a picture of a pre-flood world teeming with activity, knowledge, and spiritual conflict. A world perfectly consistent with the populated, complex planet our theory requires. The conspiracy, then, is not of a specific group hiding facts. It is the conspiracy of simplification. Over centuries, the sprawling, challenging, and theologically difficult epic of two humanities was distilled. It was flattened into a more manageable story of one family, one garden, one flood. The disturbing questions: where did Cain's wife come from? Who were the sons of God? What was the true nature of the pre-flood corruption? Were answered with easy, sometimes disturbing patches. A sister, angels, general violence. But the original haunting clues remain in the text, like fossils in stone. The named land of Nod, Cain's fear of whoever, his instant city building, the stark contrast between the technological Cainites and the worshipful Sethites, the cryptic description of the sons of God and daughters of men, the Nephilim. These are not plot holes. They are footprints. Footprints leading away from the well-trodden path of traditional interpretation into a darker, denser, and more realistic forest of ancient history. Who did Cain really marry? She was a daughter of the old world, the world before Adam. Her marriage was the first link in a chain that would nearly drag all of creation into oblivion. It was the opening move in a drama of integration, corruption, and judgment that would define the antediluvian age. Solving her mystery does not diminish the Bible. It restores its scale and its profound tragedy. It reveals a narrative not of a small family failing, but of a grand, divinely ordained experiment collapsing under the weight of a fatal attraction between heaven's chosen and earth's children. This is the forbidden history, the history hidden by the sheer, overwhelming weight of a simpler story. We have peeled back the first layer. We have identified the first anomaly and followed it to its staggering conclusion. But our investigation has only begun, for if this framework is true, it opens countless other doors. Who exactly were these pre-Adamite peoples? What was their origin? What happened to their civilizations after the flood? Are there echoes of this two humanities epic in the myths and legends of cultures across the globe? And what of the Nephilim? Did they truly perish in the deluge, or does their shadow linger in the deepest layers of our myth and memory? These are questions for future investigations. For now, we close the first case file. The conspiracy of Cain is solved. The wife has been identified. And in identifying her, we have not just answered a Sunday school question. We have unlocked a new understanding of Genesis, one that is vaster, stranger, and more compelling than we ever imagined. The beginning was not what we thought. And if the beginning was different, then perhaps our understanding of everything that followed must be re-examined. This has been Genesis Unlocked. The search for the hidden past continues. And so, the first mystery is solved. The question that has echoed through centuries, who did Cain really marry, finds its answer not in a miraculous sister, but in a forgotten world. A world already teeming with life when Adam took his first breath. Cain's wife was a daughter of that ancient earth. Their union was the first breach in the wall, the founding of a civilization built by human hands alone, brilliant and godless. We have unlocked a new Genesis, a Genesis of two humanities. One, the ancient peoples of the earth. The other, the set-apart lineage of the garden. For a time, their stories ran on separate tracks, but the structure of this hidden history points to an inevitable, cataclysmic collision. The wall breached by Cain could not stand forever. The divergence set in motion by the first murder was hurtling toward a convergence. And the Bible tells us, in its most cryptic and haunting passage, that the convergence came. It came when the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were beautiful. It came with a choice, a descent, a forbidden union. That union did not produce cities of stone. It produced monsters. It produced giants in the earth. It produced a corruption so deep it grieved the very heart of the Creator and brought the cleansing fury of the flood. Cain's conspiracy was the first step onto that road. The next step led to the end of the world. Next on the Forbidden Genesis series, Season 2, The Two Races of Genesis, the split that started it all. Watch out for Season 2. What was this forbidden union? Who were the sons of God? And what were the monstrous Nephilim? The investigation continues. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next revelation.